Throughout history, some events have left us with creepy mysteries that never seem to add up, lingering in our minds, refusing to be forgotten. The Vietnam War is one of those unsettling moments. Unlike other wars, Vietnam was a strange, confusing place, filled with dangers that didn't always make sense or regular meanings. What eerie secrets from this war still haunt us? And what hidden truths are waiting to be uncovered? Join us as we uncover creepy mysteries throughout human history. American Marines in Vietnam's unfamiliar terrain. The Vietnam War presented American Marines with a daunting challenge, navigating unfamiliar and treacherous terrain. To overcome this obstacle, they sought assistance from locals and South Vietnamese soldiers who were willing to guide them. However, even these guides found certain parts of the dense, dark forests overwhelming. Local folklore spoke of supernatural creatures lurking in these areas, tales that the Marines initially dismissed as superstition. Yet, as they ventured deeper into the Vietnamese wilderness, the combination of harsh conditions, psychological stress, and the enemy's tactics began to test the Marines' resolve and sanity in ways they hadn't anticipated. Supernatural encounters in Vietnam's forests. As American troops pushed deeper into Vietnam's forests, they faced unexpected challenges beyond the enemy. The harsh environment, combined with stress and widespread opium use, led to unusual reports. Soldiers claimed to see ghostly figures, fanged humanoids with black eyes, and even bulletproof beasts. One particularly striking account came from the U.S. 1st Marine Division, describing a giant bat-winged woman with shadowy skin. These stories spread, adding a supernatural element to the war's psychological toll. Some speculate that these eerie encounters influenced military tactics, possibly contributing to the use of chemical defoliants like Agent Orange to avoid direct forest confrontations. The mystery of Flight 739. Flight 739, which vanished on March 16, 1962, remains a perplexing mystery of the Vietnam War era. The plane disappeared between Guam and the Philippines, leaving no trace of its 107 passengers. Officially, the flight was unrelated to the war effort, but the families of the victims claim the passengers were soldiers headed to Vietnam. The passenger list included communication advisors and supply sergeants, with heavily redacted files adding to the intrigue. Oddly, no distress signal was sent, and despite reports of an explosion, no wreckage was ever found. The incident has left families seeking recognition and answers, with efforts to include the victims' names on the Vietnam Memorial Wall in Washington. Vietnamese Bigfoot. During the Vietnam War, the United States troops reported sightings of a creature called the rock ape, or batutut. Described as human-sized with reddish-brown or black fur, these apes were said to inhabit the jungles of Vietnam. Notable sightings included the Battle of Tu Quan in 1965 and the Battle of Quang Tri in 1968. In a peculiar event at Hill 868 in 1966, Marines encountered what they believed were rock apes. Instead of using their weapons, they threw rocks at the creatures, who then threw rocks back. Despite injuries and some claimed sightings, no conclusive evidence or photos exist, leaving the rock ape legend a part of Vietnam War lore. Operation Wandering Soul, Ghost Tape, Number 10. Operation Wandering Soul was a psychological warfare tactic used by American forces in Vietnam. It centered on exploiting Vietnamese superstitions using eerie audio recordings known as Ghost Tape Number 10. Created with help from South Vietnamese volunteers, these recordings featured haunting voices played throughout the jungles. The goal was to demoralize enemy troops by preying on their spiritual beliefs. However, the effectiveness of this strategy remains debatable. Some reports suggest it had no impact on Viet Cong fighters, who saw through the ruse. Others claim it successfully rattled enemy morale, even causing some to abandon their posts. The true impact of this unusual tactic likely lies somewhere between these conflicting accounts. The Battle of Los Angeles, a one-sided encounter. The Battle of Los Angeles, occurring on February 24th to 25th, 1942, was an unusual incident following the Pearl Harbor attack. Heightened paranoia led to a massive military response against an unidentified aerial object. The city was blacked out, and anti-aircraft guns fired over 1,400 rounds into the night sky. Despite the intense barrage, no evidence of enemy aircraft was ever found. Theories about the event range from mass hysteria to misidentified weather balloons or secret military experiments. The incident highlights the tense atmosphere in the United States following Pearl Harbor, as well as the challenges of identifying aerial phenomena, especially during wartime. Foo Fighters, World War II, unidentified flying objects. During World War II, Allied pilots reported mysterious aerial phenomena nicknamed Foo Fighters. These unexplained objects, often described as glowing spheres or orbs of light, were first reported in 1944 by radar operator Donald J. Myers. Pilots observed these objects performing impossible maneuvers, following planes, and appearing in various colors. Foo Fighters were notably present during the Battle of the Bulge in December 1944, baffling both Allied and Axis forces. Despite investigations, their origin remained a mystery. Theories ranged from secret German weapons to extraterrestrial visitors. Modern explanations include ball lightning or stress-induced hallucinations. These sightings bear striking similarities to recent UFO reports, suggesting a long-standing, unexplained aerial phenomenon. Trinh Minh, the crucial figure in Vietnam's fate. Trinh Minh. There was a pivotal figure in Vietnam's history whose assassination in 1955 may have altered the course of the war. Initially trained by the Japanese, he became a military leader during the First Indochina War and early Vietnam War. Trinh Minh's unique background blended anti-communist and anti-colonialist ideologies. He founded the Union of Nationalist Forces of Vietnam, aiming to challenge both the Viet Cong and Western forces. However, he faced pressure to align with the South Vietnamese army. His mysterious death by a sniper in Saigon left many questions unanswered, including how his potential alliance might have influenced the war's outcome. Hannibal's Ghost, the Legend of Cannae. The Battle of Cannae in 216 BCE showcased Hannibal's tactical genius against a larger Roman army. Using clever positioning and maneuvers, Hannibal's forces surrounded and defeated the Romans, resulting in massive casualties. This victory gave rise to a peculiar legend. Hannibal's ghost supposedly haunts the battlefield every 216 years, coinciding with Saturn's orbit. The legend claims Hannibal rides a white horse, followed by his ghostly army on August 2nd. It warns that anyone who sees the apparition will soon enter the afterlife. Foo Fighters, World War II, unidentified flying objects. During World War II, Allied pilots reported mysterious aerial phenomena nicknamed Foo Fighters. These unexplained objects, often described as glowing spheres or orbs of light, were first reported in 1944 by radar operator Donald J. Myers. Pilots observed these objects performing impossible maneuvers, following planes, and appearing in various colors. Foo Fighters were notably present during the Battle of the Bulge in December 1944, baffling both Allied and Axis forces. Despite investigations, their origin remained a mystery. Theories ranged from secret German weapons to extraterrestrial visitors. Modern explanations include ball lightning or stress-induced hallucinations. These sightings bear striking similarities to recent UFO reports, suggesting a long-standing, unexplained aerial phenomenon. George W. Bush's controversial military service. George W. Bush's military service during the Vietnam era became a contentious issue during his presidential campaigns. His records revealed inconsistencies and missing information, raising questions about his attendance and qualifications. There were discrepancies between payroll and medical records, and his transfer requests drew scrutiny. While some officers later praised Bush's service, earlier evaluations were less flattering. A full year of his service remains unaccounted for. His celebrity status seemed well documented, with commanders arranging photo opportunities. These inconsistencies led to speculation about whether Bush received preferential treatment, potentially allowing him to avoid the most dangerous aspects of the war. The Battle of Los Angeles, a one-sided encounter. The Battle of Los Angeles, occurring on February 24th to 25th, 1942, was an unusual incident following the Pearl Harbor attack. Heightened paranoia led to a massive military response against an unidentified aerial object. The city was blacked out, and anti-aircraft guns fired over 1,400 rounds into the night sky. Despite the intense barrage, no evidence of enemy aircraft was ever found. Theories about the event range from mass hysteria to misidentified weather balloons or secret military experiments. The incident highlights the tense atmosphere in the United States following Pearl Harbor, as well as the challenges of identifying aerial phenomena, especially during wartime. Hannibal's Ghost, the Legend of Cannae. The Battle of Cannae, in 216 BCE, showcased Hannibal's tactical genius against a larger Roman army. Using clever positioning and maneuvers, Hannibal's forces surrounded and defeated the Romans, resulting in massive casualties. This victory gave rise to a peculiar legend. Hannibal's ghost supposedly haunts the battlefield every 216 years, coinciding with Saturn's orbit. The legend claims Hannibal rides a white horse, followed by his ghostly army, on August 2nd. It warns that anyone who sees the apparition will soon enter the afterlife. The disappearance of Rome's Ninth Legion. The Ninth Legion of Rome, a powerful and respected military unit, mysteriously vanished in Britain around 120 AD. The soldiers marched north from their fortress in York to quell a rebellion, but they were never seen again. Some historians believe they were defeated by fierce local tribes, while others think they may have been redeployed elsewhere, and records were lost. Despite many theories, the fate of the Ninth Legion remains one of history's great mysteries, with no concrete evidence to confirm what truly happened. The Vanished Battalion at Celtic Wood. In October 1917, during World War I, the 10th Battalion of the Australian Imperial Force faced a mysterious disappearance at Celtic Wood in Belgium. After successfully capturing the wood in the Battle of Passchendaele, the battalion was ordered to hold their position against German counterattacks. When relief troops arrived, they found only abandoned equipment and empty trenches. 71 men were missing. Discrepancies in reports about the number of missing soldiers, ranging from 37 to 71, were attributed to clerical errors. Despite searches and theories, such as burial in German mines, the fate of these soldiers remains unknown. The battle that changed European languages. The Battle of Teutoburg Forest in 9 AD significantly altered European linguistic history. This Roman defeat halted their northern expansion, allowing Germanic and Scandinavian languages to develop independently. Had the Romans won, Latin might have become the dominant language in these regions, potentially changing the course of English as well. Despite its importance, the exact location of the battle remains unknown due to the dense forest and lack of written records from Germanic tribes. This single battle has far-reaching consequences, shaping not only political boundaries, but also the linguistic landscape of entire continents for centuries to come. The disappearance of Rome's Ninth Legion. The Ninth Legion of Rome, a powerful and respected military unit, mysteriously vanished in Britain around 120 AD. The soldiers marched north from their fortress in York to quell a rebellion, but they were never seen again. Some historians believe they were defeated by fierce local tribes, while others think they may have been redeployed elsewhere and records were lost. Despite many theories, the fate of the Ninth Legion remains one of history's great mysteries. with no concrete evidence to confirm what truly happened. The Vanished Battalion at Celtic Wood. In October 1917, during World War I, the 10th Battalion of the Australian Imperial Force faced a mysterious disappearance at Celtic Wood in Belgium. After successfully capturing the wood in the Battle of Passchendaele, the battalion was ordered to hold their position against German counterattacks. When relief troops arrived, they found only abandoned equipment and empty trenches. 71 men were missing. Discrepancies in reports about the number of missing soldiers, ranging from 37 to 71, were attributed to clerical errors. Despite searches and theories, such as burial in German mines, the fate of these soldiers remains unknown. Lieutenant Pete Ellis, the prophet of Pearl Harbor. Lieutenant Pete Ellis, a Marine Corps officer, made eerie predictions about the attack on Pearl Harbor. In the 1920s, while stationed in Guam, Ellis studied Japanese military tactics and culture, forecasting a surprise attack on the United States Pacific Fleet. His 1921 report, Advanced Base Operations in Micronesia, detailed the exact scenario of the attack, including the use of aircraft carriers. Despite his insights, Ellis was dismissed due to his struggles with mental health and died in 1923. His report, rediscovered after the 1941 attack, proved remarkably accurate and is now considered a crucial piece of American intelligence history. The ghost plane of Pearl Harbor. A year after the Pearl Harbor attacks, radar operators spotted a lone, aimless aircraft. When intercepting planes investigated, they found it was an American P-40, similar to those used in the previous attack. The plane was heavily damaged, lacked landing gear, and the pilot was slumped over the controls. It crashed, but the rescue team found no trace of the pilot, only a diary indicating the plane had come from the island of Mindo, over 1,300 miles away. The story closely resembles a plot from Brigadier General Robert Lee Scott's book, God is My Co-Pilot. The battle stopped by a meteor. During the Third Mithridatic War in 72 BC, an unusual event occurred at the Battle of Phria between Rome and the Kingdom of Pontus. According to the historian Plutarch, a meteor fell from the sky, landing in the middle of the battlefield. The impact created a crater and a dust cloud, which stunned both armies and caused the battle to stop abruptly. The Romans saw the meteor as a divine sign to cease fighting, while King Mithridates VI of Pontus viewed it as a positive omen for his victory. Despite this, Mithridates eventually lost the war, and Rome took control of his kingdom. The Princes in the Tower. The mystery of the Princes in the Tower, Edward V and his brother Richard, is one of England's most puzzling historical cases. After their father, King Edward IV, died in 1483, the boys were placed in the Tower of London by their uncle, Richard, Duke of Gloucester. They were never seen again. Richard, who later became Richard III, declared their marriage illegitimate and claimed the throne himself. Rumors suggested Richard had the princes murdered to secure his power. In 1674, 2 skeletons found in the tower were thought to be the princes, but modern analysis remains inconclusive, leaving their fate a mystery. Henry VIII. Mysterious will. Henry VIII will remain a source of mystery due to its lost original copy. As Henry neared the end of his life, he made several revisions to the will, creating inconsistencies and leaving room for different interpretations. Key figures like Archbishop Thomas Cranmer and Thomas Seymour played significant roles in shaping the final version, possibly to advance their own political and Protestant agendas. Henry's decision to name his young son Edward as heir, bypassing his Catholic daughters Mary and Elizabeth, fueled further conflict. The loss of the original document means questions about its true content and impact on England's succession and religious conflicts remain unresolved. The Poisoned Soup Incident. The Poisoned Soup Incident of 1531 involves Richard Roos, a cook accused of poisoning soup served to the Bishop of Rochester and others. Roos, allegedly a supporter of the bishop's anti-Henry VIII stance, was tried under a new law that deemed poisoning as treason. Although Rose claimed the poisoning was accidental and intended as a joke, his trial was rushed and lacked solid evidence. Found guilty, Rose was sentenced to be boiled alive, a gruesome punishment reflecting the irony of his crime. The case fueled speculation, with some suggesting Anne Boleyn or her allies might have orchestrated the incident to benefit her own ambitions. Elizabethan assassination plots. During Queen Elizabeth I's reign, there were numerous assassination plots against her, driven mainly by discontented Catholics. Among the most notable were the Rowley Plot, Throckmorton Plot, Babington Plot, and Essex Rebellion. These plots aimed to replace Elizabeth with Mary, Queen of Scots, and often involved foreign and domestic conspirators. The Rowley Plot of 1571, led by Robert Rowley, was exposed by Elizabeth's spy master, Francis Walsingham, who deciphered crucial letters. The Throckmorton Plot of 1583, another Catholic conspiracy, was similarly thwarted. The Babington Plot of 1586 also failed, leading to Mary's execution. The Essex Rebellion of 1601, led by the discontented Earl of Essex, ended in his defeat and execution. Despite these numerous threats, Elizabeth survived until her death at 69, largely due to her effective intelligence network, lost monastery treasures. During Henry VIII's reign, the widespread dissolution of monasteries led to the loss of many valuable religious relics and manuscripts. One notable mystery is the legend of the Glastonbury thorn, a rare hawthorn tree believed to have grown from the staff of Joseph of Arimathea. This tree was said to bloom only at Christmas and Easter, but disappeared after the dissolution of Glastonbury Abbey in the 1530s. The destruction of monasteries also involved the seizure and dispersal of religious treasures, which were either lost, sold, or melted down. Some monks and nuns tried to hide sacred items in secret chambers, but many of these treasures remain undiscovered. The vanished Roanoke colony. In the late 16th century, England attempted to establish colonies in the New World. The Roanoke colony, founded in 1585, struggled and returned to England. A second attempt in 1587, known as the Lost Colony, led by John White, faced a similar fate. White left for supplies, but when he returned 3 years later, the colony had vanished. The only clues were the word Croatoan, carved into a post, and Sorrow on a tree, suggesting the settlers might have moved inland. A 2012 discovery of a map by John White, with hidden outlines of 2 forts, hints they may have relocated. However, the true fate of the colonists remains unknown. Henry VIII. Missing wives. Henry VIII. 6 wives included Anne Boleyn and Catherine Howard, whose burial sites are now lost. Anne Boleyn was executed in 1536 and buried in the Tower of London's Chapel of St. Peter ad Vincula. However, her exact grave is unknown, partly due to the English Reformation's destruction of Catholic sites and later efforts by Elizabeth I to distance herself from her mother's scandalous legacy. Catherine Howard, executed in 1542, was buried in the same chapel, but like Anne, her grave's location has been lost over time. Renovations and lack of detailed records have also contributed to the mystery of their final resting places. The mysterious death of Amy Robsart. Amy Robsart, the wife of Robert Dudley and a close friend of Queen Elizabeth I, died under mysterious circumstances on September 8, 1560. She was found dead at the bottom of a staircase in her home in Oxfordshire, England. The official investigation ruled her death accidental, but rumors and theories quickly spread, suggesting foul play. Some believed that Dudley might have had a motive to remove Amy to advance his own ambitions and pursue a relationship with Elizabeth. Despite these suspicions, no direct evidence linked Dudley to her death. Her case has since inspired fictional accounts, portraying her death as a result of political intrigue. Napoleon's cause of death controversy. Napoleon Bonaparte's death on St. Helena in 1821 has sparked debate. Officially, he died of stomach cancer, but some theories suggest otherwise. One theory posits that he was poisoned with a substance called rat poison. Count Montholon, a French general and Napoleon's confidant, was suspected of administering poison, possibly motivated by personal grievances or financial gain. Analyzing Napoleon's hair in 1961 revealed high levels of rat poison, but later tests were inconclusive. Another theory is that Napoleon may have used the poison himself to build immunity against potential poisoning attempts. The true cause of his death remains a subject of controversy. Napoleon's lost treasure in Russia. During Napoleon's failed Russian campaign in 1812, his army reportedly lost around 80 tons of treasure. As French troops retreated from the burning city of Moscow, they carried valuable loot, including jewelry and artwork, but struggled with harsh conditions. Rumors suggest that this treasure was hidden during their retreat, possibly near Lake Semno in Smolensk, where some abandoned arms were found. Another theory points to the Berzina River or Lake Bushire in Belarus, based on local accounts and evidence of high silver concentrations in the water. Despite these theories, no treasure has yet been recovered. Napoleon's supernatural encounters. Napoleon was reportedly haunted by supernatural occurrences, including a spectral figure known as the Red Man. This mysterious figure, seen by Napoleon at crucial moments, was said to provide warnings and guidance. One legend claims that Napoleon called out the name of a former general, HRI Christian Stengel, on his deathbed. Stengel had predicted his own death in a dream, which seemed to align with his actual fate, leaving Napoleon unsettled. However, Stengel had died years before Napoleon's final moments, and there is no solid evidence linking the general's name to Napoleon's last words. Napoleon was known for his superstitions and fascination with omens. The Jaffa poisoning incident. In May 1799, during the Egyptian campaign, Napoleon's forces were trapped in Jaffa. As Napoleon planned a retreat, he wanted to leave behind sick soldiers to avoid spreading disease. He suggested to Dr. Nicolas de Genette that euthanizing the ill might be more humane than leaving them to the harsh treatment of enemy forces. Dr. de Genette refused, and Napoleon chose to leave a rear guard instead. Despite this, rumors spread that Napoleon ordered the poisoning of the sick soldiers. These accusations damaged his reputation, and he tried to counter them by commissioning a painting depicting him caring for the sick. Napoleon's death mask mystery. Napoleon's death mask, made after his death on St. Helena, remains shrouded in mystery. When Napoleon died, two doctors, François Carlo Antomarchi and Francis Burton, made casts of his face. There's confusion about who created the original mold, but one version was reportedly stolen by Madame Bertrand, an attendant. Dr. Burton was left with only part of the mask and tried to sue Bertrand unsuccessfully. Meanwhile, Bertrand sold a copy to Antomarchi, who later moved to Cuba, where one copy is said to be in a museum. Another copy ended up in New Orleans, but was saved from destruction. The authenticity of these masks is still debated. The plan to give Napoleon South America. In a daring plan, Sir Thomas Cochrane, a British naval officer, considered rescuing Napoleon from his exile on St. Helena and installing him as the ruler of a unified South American empire. Cochrane, who had gained fame in South America for his naval tactics, thought that freeing Napoleon and placing him in charge of countries like Chile, Argentina, and Peru could disrupt European power dynamics and create a powerful new empire. However, the Chileans on board Cochrane's ship did not support this idea, so the plan was abandoned. Napoleon remained imprisoned, and the scheme never came to fruition. The Sphinx's broken nose myth. The myth that Napoleon's troops caused the Sphinx's broken nose during their Egyptian campaign is likely false. Historical evidence suggests that the Sphinx was missing its nose before Napoleon arrived. Danish explorer Frederick Louis Norden painted the Sphinx without a nose in the 18th century, and French scholar Dominique Vivant Denon sketched it similarly in 1798, before Napoleon's campaign. Additionally, 14th century Arab historian al-Makrizi noted the Sphinx's lack of a nose long before Napoleon's time. These sources indicate that the Sphinx's missing nose predates Napoleon, debunking the legend that his army was responsible. The fake Napoleon theory. The fake Napoleon theory suggests that Napoleon Bonaparte never really died on St. Helena. Instead, it claims that a look-alike, François-Eugène Robu, was swapped for Napoleon. According to this theory, the real Napoleon escaped to Italy, where he lived under a false identity, selling spectacles. The theory also suggests that Napoleon later tried to reclaim power in France, but was discovered and killed. However, this story lacks credible evidence and remains speculative. It was popularized by a Frenchman named Imemo Mera in 1911 and published in a Montreal newspaper, but no substantial proof supports this dramatic tale. Napoleon's alleged discovery of Cleopatra's tomb. During Napoleon's Egyptian campaign from 1798 to 1801, a rumor surfaced that he discovered Cleopatra's tomb and brought her remains back to France. According to the story, her remains were stored at the Louvre Museum until a 1940s guard supposedly discarded them. However, there is no verified evidence to support this claim. Napoleon's expedition did lead to significant interest in ancient Egypt, documented in a major work called Description de l'Égypte. This sparked European fascination, and unfortunately also led to the looting and destruction of many artifacts, but the Cleopatra tomb story remains unconfirmed and speculative. Basil I, from advisor to emperor. Basil I, also known as Basil the Macedonian, ruled the Byzantine Empire from 860 even to 886 AD. Although he is remembered as a skilled and effective leader who made important reforms, his rise to power was marked by ruthless actions. Originally a trusted advisor and friend to Emperor Michael III, Basil betrayed Michael after being appointed co-ruler. Despite Michael's reputation as a drunkard, he had promoted Basil from a humble background to a position of great power. Unfortunately, Basil's ambition led him to murder Michael and seize the throne, demonstrating a dark side to his political savvy. Basil's bizarre deer incident and death. Basil I, the Byzantine emperor, met a bizarre end due to a hunting accident. While hunting, his belt got caught in the antlers of a deer. Believing the deer was dead, Basil approached it, but the animal suddenly ran off, dragging him through the forest for 16 miles. He was eventually rescued by an attendant who cut him free. However, Basil grew suspicious of the attendant and had him executed, believing he might have had ill intentions. Sadly, Basil died from his injuries in August 886, making his death as strange as his rise to power. King George IV, the birth of tabloids. King George IV of Britain, known for his extravagant lifestyle and scandalous personal life, played a key role in the birth of tabloid journalism. During his reign in the early 19th century, George's excessive spending and troubled marriage to Caroline of Brunswick became public spectacles. His failed attempt to divorce Caroline, combined with his lavish spending, attracted widespread media attention. As printing technology advanced and literacy rates grew, newspapers began to focus on sensational stories about the king's private life. This shift towards gossip and scandal in the press laid the groundwork for the modern tabloid industry we see today. James II of Scotland, death by cannon demonstration. In the 15th century, James II of Scotland wanted to impress his wife, Queen Mary, with a grand display of artillery. He organized a cannon demonstration to showcase the power and precision of cannons. However, James stood too close to the cannons, ignoring safety measures. During the event, one cannon malfunctioned, firing a cannonball off course. The ball struck James, severely injuring his legs. The injuries were fatal, and James died shortly after. His attempt to impress his wife ended in tragedy, proving that even kings aren't immune to the dangers of unchecked ambition and poor safety practices. Lord Cardigan, fashion icon and military blunderer. Lord Cardigan, whose full name was James Thomas Brudenell, is remembered for his fashion and a major military blunder. Known for his flamboyant style, including the famous cardigan sweater, Cardigan's military reputation was marred by his role in the charge of the Light Brigade during the Crimean War on October 25, 1854. Miscommunication and ambiguous orders led him to charge directly into heavily fortified Russian artillery. The attack was disastrous, with over 270 of the 670 men killed, wounded, or captured. Despite his stylish attire and personal eccentricities, Cardigan's command was criticized for its poor planning and heavy losses. Pope John XII, the Party Pope. Pope John XII, who became Pope in 955 at just 18, was infamous for his wild lifestyle. Unlike the typical image of a pious pope, John XII was known for his excessive partying, drinking, and numerous affairs. His reign was marked by scandal and poor judgment, including supporting a rival to Emperor Otto I. Otto eventually deposed John in 963. Despite still holding the title, John continued his reckless behavior. His life ended dramatically, with some accounts suggesting he either suffered a stroke during an affair or was killed by an angry husband, reflecting his tumultuous and indulgent papacy. Caligula's reign of absurdity. Caligula, the Roman emperor from 37 to 41 AD, is known for his bizarre and extravagant behavior. He was infamous for his close relationships with his sisters and his eccentric acts, such as appointing his horse, Incitatus, to a high government position. Caligula even paraded around in a seashell costume, claiming to be the king of the ocean after a failed military campaign. His reign was marked by a series of absurdities and delusions, including his extravagant self-promotion and bizarre public stunts. Caligula's erratic behavior and failures led to his assassination just 4 years into his rule. Charles Ponzi, the man behind the scheme. Charles Ponzi, born in 1882 in Italy, became infamous for the fraudulent scheme named after him. Though he didn't invent the Ponzi scheme, he exploited it by promising huge returns on investments using international reply coupons. At its peak, Ponzi was making around $250,000 daily. His scheme relied on new investors' money to pay earlier ones, creating a false impression of profitability. The scam collapsed in 1920 after investigative reports exposed its flaws, leading to Ponzi's arrest. He was convicted of fraud, served prison time, and continued scamming even after his release. Ponzi ended his days in Brazil, poor and in poor health. Thanks for watching. See you in our next video.